Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Missy. Welcome back to the Embodied Actor Conversations. This is just a limited series where I get to chat with some of the leaders in the Mindful Actor community. And today I have the pleasure of bringing in Suzanne Hepburn. I see she just joined. Phew. So Suzanne is an incredible person. She is a life coach and an acting coach. She's a Pilates instructor, a movement expert, and she was actually one of my first teachers when I moved to Vancouver. So we go way back and we got to work together. So we'll talk a little bit about that. This is Suzanne Hepburn. So let me get Suzanne, see if it works. Holy banana. Let's see. Yeah. Okay.
Yay!
Great. I always feel like I must celebrate the connection because that's the hardest part for me.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm like, am I here? Can you see me? Okay, good.
Can you hear me?
Can
Welcome.
you hear me?
It's so
Hey!
nice to see you.
Oh,
I watch
so
your
nice
lives
to be
all the
here.
time, and so now it's like I'm infiltrating it.
Oh, I'm super excited to be here. It's great.
Well,
Yeah.
welcome. Okay,
Thank
well,
you.
let's see. I always like to start just talking about your first role. So your first role was on Just Cause, which I
Mhm.
love. Do you
Yeah.
remember that? How was that experience first on set?
Oh, yes, I remember it. I was a nervous wreck. I mean, honestly, I was a nervous wreck. I was super excited, but I was a nervous wreck. And I mean, I don't remember the show. Like, couldn't tell you much about the show, but I remember my
Right.
role. And, it was one of those experiences that I sometimes have told acting students about where, I was a day player. I had like this little role, and like the lead and whoever else was sort of, important, they didn't care. Like they were okay. They were nice enough, but
Right.
they were not like, hi, and I was this bundle of nerves. And I mean, I just remember by the time I got home that night, I don't think I'd ever been so tired in my life. Like I was just so drained from it all, from the nerves, really. Right.
Yes, right.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
So I love that. Yeah, because we expect it to be like this big thing of like, hey, I'm here, but it's like business as usual for everybody
Totally.
else.
Totally.
You know?
Business as usual. And like, I think maybe the lead was even sick. So there was kind of a bit of a funny energy. And
Oh.
I just wanted to be good. I was such like, I want to do this right. I want to be good. I had a lot of pressure on myself to do that. And, I mean, I think it was fine, but
Yes.
yeah.
Well, now, do you have like a practice with your nerves? Like, how do you deal with nerves?
Yes. I think I would be totally different now. Back then, I think it was really important for me to make it seem like I knew what I was doing and I was okay. Right? Like, don't let them know that you're nervous and this is your first gig, like, which is hilarious because everyone can tell, right? But
Right.
and now I much more, if I can, invite the nerves in. Like, I feel like it's sort of like I go, okay, I feel this in my body, like the swells and eddies of like a river, right? And it's like, okay, I really have to like invite it in, accept it in, and go with that and not try and deny it and pretend it's not here, which just makes me tight and restricted, right? And so it's like, okay, it's like going on a roller coaster, right? Okay, here we go. And ultimately it's fun, but like I must invite in those sensations in my body without getting lost in them and getting consumed by it, but like just awareness, acceptance, and invite it along for the ride. So it's much more relaxed in a nerve-wracking way.
Yeah, because I feel like so much of acting is relaxing,
Yeah.
and then we get put into these moments where we're racked with nerves. And it's
Yes.
like, okay.
Yes. Totally.
Good luck.
Yes. It's like, okay, everyone's looking at you and you've got to do a good job. Now relax. But
Exactly.
it is the only way we do good work, I think, because then our instrument is open to the impulses, right? Like we can actually follow them. And if we're not relaxed, we just can't even hear them. I can't. Yeah.
Yes, otherwise there's so much chatter that goes on.
So much chatter. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're
it's
cutting
different.
ourselves off from so much wisdom and really where the work and play is, right? So yeah.
Yeah. I always feel like nerves also is like going to an end destination. It's like I'm trying to make something happen in
Yes.
future or something,
Yes.
you know?
Totally. I'm trying to control. I'm trying to
Trying to control
control
it.
how I'm going to be, how people are going to perceive me. Yeah.
Hmm.
What the end result is. And that's, yeah, the opposite of being present. Yeah.
In the body. Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, and so it makes me wonder about like how stage is different because we did a play together
Mm-hmm.
before all this crazy COVID.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
how was that process for you? I mean, did you get nervous then, or what was your process?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, I remember when I first got the role, just being like, "What the hell?" Like, it was an unusual role. I was like, "This woman," like, so definitely, I was like, but I know enough to know that when that sort of fear comes up of like, "What the hell? How am I going to do this?" You just got to go in and trust. So the process for me, for sure, my head gets involved and tries to figure it all out and understand who she is
Right.
first, and then I mean, I love rehearsal. Like it's like my favorite thing. So then the process is just playing in rehearsal and like probably undoing most of my plans and like going, oh my God, this is what this is about. Oh, so that's
Yes.
like my favorite. And then like performance nights, nerves for sure. Before going on, I usually am like, why am I doing this? Like what? My whole body is just like, ugh. But I also know
Yeah.
enough to know that if I can, breathe and get on stage, once I'm there, oh, it's great. It's like
Yeah.
step
Yeah.
on, we start, and then it's so fun. I mean, it's so fun. Yeah.
I
But that
love
moment before is terrifying for sure, for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you have like something that you do before? I mean, I'm trying to remember what we did. I feel like we were just trying to like feel drunk in the story.
Yes. Yes.
Because the
Yes.
story
Yeah.
we had to start as a party.
That's right. Which was actually really hard, right? To start in that place. I mean, the body is really, really like so key for me. Feeling like I'm, I guess, again, relaxed and in my body. So some
Hmm.
sort of physical vocal warm up is really
Hmm.
important for me. Just because I think when I do that, then there's a part of me that goes, okay, I can trust this. I can trust the work I've done. I can trust my body if I'm kind of acknowledging it and opening it up. And
Yeah.
then in the moment, like at that moment before going on where it's really big, I mean, it's just like, just breathe and trust and like feel it all, but don't kind of buy the hype, because nerves are always like, oh, just okay, just feel it. It's just sensation, and then carry that. And
Oof,
that's about it. Yeah.
I love
Mhm.
that. I'm not gonna buy the hype of my nervous
Yeah. Yeah.
chatter.
Totally. Yeah.
I think there is something about trust of trusting the work that you've done, like doing the preparation and then
Yeah.
trusting that it's in you
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And
breathe.
trusting that like it's in me and I'm an artist and I know enough to know, especially with our ensemble, these people have me. If something goes terribly wrong, I'm not on my
Right.
own, right? Like, so trust them as well. And
Yeah.
trust the work and trust myself that if it all goes sideways, we'll find our way. I mean, we did have that was at our preview. That woman was shouting from the audience, remember?
Forgot that.
And it's like, but we were okay. Like we figured, yeah.
Yeah, we had, for anybody who wasn't in the room, we had a heckler
Mm-hmm.
and had to
But she wasn't
continue
really
on.
heckling. She was sort of cheering it on.
I don't know. She
But
was kind of like, I don't know about him.
yeah, I guess that's true. Well, you know what? She wasn't heckling my character. Maybe that's why I remember it. She was like, yeah, girl. Like, yeah.
Yeah, really broke the fourth wall.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to roll with it. She ended up, I don't know, I think she ended up leaving. She
Yeah,
realized
I think they escorted her out. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes we have too much fun. So
Yeah.
I love that. That was I really cherish that experience. So like
Me
the whole
too.
play and being able to act with you was so amazing.
So
Amazing.
great.
And so you now have gone into more of a life coach, of the coaching realm. Like, what drew you to that?
Well, I think I found, so I was coaching actors for years, and I found that like I don't want to give it a percentage, but a big part of it really was, life coaching, like coaching beyond just acting coaching. And I didn't even really know it, to be honest, until I teach Pilates, and one of my clients is a coach, and I was coaching her in Pilates. She's like, do you know that you're coaching me? And I was like, what? No, I'm just talking to you. But she's like, no, that's coaching. And she treasured it as much as the movement, right? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So then I dabbled, I got my own coach and was like, oh, and she said, yeah, you coach all the time. And it sort of opened my mind. And I realized that like a huge part, maybe the bigger part of what I loved about coaching actors was actually that part, the coaching of like accepting yourself and watching those mindset, those thoughts. And I really love that. I love it when people really kind of forge new connections in their sense of belief in themselves and shift their lives because of it. And so I started doing a bit of it, and then I was like, well, I'm going to get a bit of training. And so then I started doing some training, and I was like, oh yeah, I do. This is what I do. And so then I just thought, well, I love doing this. So I opened it out to people beyond actors, right? And I love it. I really, really love it. It's very exciting. I mean, I do coach, like life coach a lot of actors, which is excellent. But not just, yeah.
Right. Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, everybody can benefit from that work. And I mean, I think everyone can benefit from acting work as well.
Yes. Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Totally. How do you see like the self-work mix with acting, and how important do you see those two?
I think it is crucial, actually. I really think it's crucial because I think the thing, of course we need our acting skills, and that goes without saying. You need that. So let's just accept, yes.
Right.
But what I see happen a lot, what happened with me for sure has happened with me, and I see happen with clients, is it's actually the mindset work, if you will, the self-belief that is getting in the way. Their acting is great, but all those beliefs they have, all those limiting beliefs, all that insecurity, all that kind of strange stories they're stuck in is the very thing that's really stopping them. And I mean, as like we know in the acting world, there is so much uncertainty. There's so much that is sort of beyond our control, that if we don't have that sense of like real deep knowing who I am, accepting who I am, following my own guidance, then it just becomes miserable, right? You feel rejected, and you feel not good enough, and you feel consumed by all those thoughts. And the industry is sort of set up to like inundate you with those thoughts, because as we know, you audition 9 times, maybe you get 1, maybe, right? Probably even less now with COVID, because everyone's auditioning for everything constantly. Right. So if we don't have that real kind of connection to self and self-worth that comes not from what we're achieving, it just makes for a miserable life. And I don't want people to have miserable lives. And actors mostly get into acting because of the joy of it. They love it, right? And then so often they just feel battered down and just demoralized, and it's like then it's not even fun anymore. So now you're slogging away at this thing that was a passion and a joy, and it just doesn't feel that. And I don't think it has to be that way. I think we can find that sense of joy and kind of detach from the outcome, and not take it so seriously that our whole sense of self-worth relies on it, and still have a joyful and creative life, and more creative, right?
Yeah. So how do you work with like that inner critic, those limiting beliefs? Like what is the practice or tools that you use for that?
Well, I think one of the first things is really just awareness of it, right? So it's mindfulness basically, but having a sense of like, okay, that chattering voice is not me. So I talk a lot about having a joy practice, and a joy practice for me it's unique to everybody. It's the stuff that fills you up, because I totally believe that what sparkles you and brings you joy leads, if you follow that, you are led the way you're meant to be led, right? So, but it's like a vulnerable little flower. And if we don't nurture that, then that inner critic voice, that fear, just squashes it. So we have to build that up, right? And I can talk more about that, about what your joy practice might be. But once we sort of build that up, then we have a buoyancy, something we can trust other than that really critical voice. And then it's sort of like, well, wow, when I tap into that inner wisdom and that joy, it feels this way. When I listen to that inner critic, it feels this way. Like, of course I want this one. This is horrible. And then it just becomes obvious that, oh yeah, like I can detach from that. I can ask that voice, just like, thanks, no thanks, I'm not going to talk about that right now. Or because it's just fear. Our inner critic is just trying to keep us safe, keep us okay, yeah, right? And so it's doing its job. But we don't want to let it run the show. Yeah, it's trying to help. It's trying to help the best it can, but we don't want to let it run the show. Yeah.
So then it's about like actually sitting down with those thoughts. Like, are you writing it down? Or are you just going into like a sensation kind of meditation, like, or is it on the fly?
I think it's a bit of both. I think you really do want to, again, first you want to build up that sense of like joy, that sense of deep wisdom, whatever that is for you, however you want to get there. And we can talk about that. So once you've started to get that, then you can start to notice the difference in your body very much of this voice, like, oh, and then what you want to do is you want to start to notice like, oh, what are the familiar refrains of my inner critic? Like, oh, does it tend to really pick on my, I don't know, like my looks or the fact that I'm not smart or whatever it is? Or what are those stories that come up again and again and again? And when do they come up? Like they tend to come up when we're a little bit vulnerable. For me, they come up when I'm tired. So it's like, oh, I'm tired. I'm just not even going to listen to that. This isn't true. I'm just tired, right? So it's a lot awareness. But yeah, so what are the familiar kind of things it hops on me about? When is it most likely to get going, right? When we're vulnerable, when we're stepping into something new, maybe it's around certain people, sometimes it's around family. What is it for you? So that you can start to go, oh, that's just that. I can just say, and then I literally have a practice of being like talking to it. Like a really great one is, I don't want to talk about that. And it sounds crazy. But no, when it starts coming, I don't want to talk about that. You just put it away, right? Or I'd rather not have this conversation. Or you can be like, thank you, I appreciate it. Like literally say this out loud or in your head. Thank you, I appreciate it, but I've got this, right? I've got this. If you're more visual, you can picture like, I often get clients to like create an image of their inner critic, like a little monster and a name, and give it its character, right? And so that it just, again, is a little bit detached, distanced from you. And there's like nasty, your little gremlin, and it's like, oh, you can see this weird, funny monster. You could draw it, whatever, to just lighten up about it. And then like one of my clients, literally, she has like a weird little gremlin. And when he starts coming out, she puts him in his box in her mind and pretends she's putting the box outside the room.
Oh,
and she doesn't, she's like, it's not a mean box, it's a nice box. She's like, no, you can have it. It's a cozy velvet lined box, but boom. And just that silly, playful lightens us up about it, right? And then that actually gives her the space to then do something to tap back in.
Right.
Yeah.
To tap into joy. And so then let's chat about joy, because I mean, I feel like right now is such a difficult time for joy. There's so much craziness that's happening. There's so much sadness. I feel like it's really easy to go into a depressive state when you look at the world and what's happening and how can I help? And, how do you find a joy practice in the midst of a lot of chaos? What is a joy practice for you?
So, sometimes I think I should change the name from joy practice, because I think sometimes joy can sound like a lot of pressure. Like you're right, like everything's like this and I'm supposed to feel joyful. So to me, in many ways, what it is a presence practice. Like what are the things that actually allow me to be present? Because when we're present, I think that's when we can access joy. So if I'm really present as I walk through the forest, I can take it in and it fills me up. If I'm up here thinking and not even noticing, then I'm not even given the option of feeling the joy. So it's the kind of things that bring you down to this moment and that actually feel joyful for you. So it's very unique, right? So it doesn't have to be vast and a whole set of rigid rigmarole, but like really think, what are the things that make you feel like yourself, that bring you to that sense of deep peace, and that open the door to feeling joy. And the thing is that like when we open the door to feeling joy, we also open the door to feeling other things. So joy is vulnerable, actually, right? Because if I feel tremendous joy at, you know, I always use dogs because I love dogs, but if I feel this tremendous joy snuggling my dog, well, inherent is that in that is also like, I will lose that dog, right? So it actually is kind of vulnerable. And some people protect themselves from joy so they don't have to feel the pain of losing it. But really, I mean, I think it's about opening.
I'm sorry, somebody just walked by in the mirror. He's trying to reach
like
over.
A little hamster running along the top of the head. That's hilarious.
Busted. Sorry.
I know, that's great. That's great. I mean, like that. It's like being present enough to these moments. So a joy practice, I think, is, to me, it has a couple of components. There's a physical component, like what actually, what feels good in your body, right? And that can be like tapping into the senses, movement, but not like movement because you got to exercise. Like what feels really good. So there's physical. I think for me, there's also spiritual. So what is it that makes you feel like you're a spiritual being in this world? And that can be, nature is a huge part of it for me, for most people. Meditation, just because of that stillness and quietness, but not for everyone. Some people, if I mention meditation, they're like, oh, okay, right. That's fine. Creativity, right? If you're just drawing or coloring or whatever it is, it's that stuff that brings you to this moment and kind of, you get to leave all the chatter and just be here. And that you start to remember who you are and be like, I love, I don't know, arranging flowers. Okay, I'm going to make space for that. So even amidst, you know, I mean, these past 2 years and counting, still going, so much hard stuff. But even in that, we are allowed to enjoy arranging flowers, and I think we should, I don't like to use the word should too much, but that we owe it to ourselves to make space for that, because it actually isn't really helping anyone in the world if we're just stuck in this brutal depression, right? Or like, so it's not about always running around and grinning like an idiot like I'm so happy. It's more about making space to connect to this moment, to our own body, to our own senses, to our own spirit, and allowing, because in that space, then I think we do get the impulses, the ideas to like offer ourselves to the world in a really authentic way, right?
I love that. I think that's so beautiful. That's because the way you're breaking it down feels way more accessible. Like if I'm going, okay, I gotta be joyful, you know, then can come in like guilt or yes, like uncertain. I don't know anymore or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, but you're tuning into the body, like what, you know, what's something that you can do to bring you into presence, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like gratitude is hand in hand with that.
Yes. Thank right. you for bringing that up. Key. Yeah. But even that, you know, sometimes feeling gratitude when you really feel like crap, it's like, F you, like I don't feel grateful, right? And so
right.
sometimes I think what can help is like, okay, maybe I don't feel grateful right now, but I can appreciate, I don't know, I can appreciate the people who like built the road system so I can get to it. You know, like maybe gratitude is too big, but I can appreciate. Or maybe one of my favorites, I saw this online somewhere, this woman, she just notices, she looks for tiny delights. So like, there's a little bird there. Like that's just a little moment of delight. And maybe I'm not quite at gratitude for my life today, right? But I can appreciate, like I keep talking about flowers because I got this bouquet. I can appreciate the pink of those flowers.
Right.
And that, just
small.
that shifts
That's
us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It leads to gratitude. Yeah.
Yes. I often start with just having a home, having a place above my head.
Yes.
Immediately I'm like, yeah, I'm really grateful that I can have this place. You know, it's just always connected, or going into breath, or going into your, you know, or whatever you have.
And I think I just want to add to that, because I think that actually what is important, even though it seems like the opposite is important, it's important to not then also go into guilt. Like,
Yes.
oh, I appreciate that I have a home, and then, oh, I feel guilty because the people in Ukraine don't. That, I think that's some weird old thinking we have, where we have to feel bad or worry, and that like that's doing something. But we can appreciate and be grateful for what we have and still have empathy, and but not go into guilt for it, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting to me. I felt that too with some of my students, of that that working with gratitude brings up guilt. It's really interesting. Really interesting how they hand in hand. It's like, it talks to, are you enough? Like, are you allowed to receive?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And,
yeah. Which is why sometimes appreciation can be an easier way in. Because I can appreciate this, because sometimes gratitude also has a little bit of a like, oh, thank you, like, for some of us. And so, but I can appreciate without making myself inferior. So for some people that can be a easier way in.
Yeah, because like diminishing what you have doesn't give anything to anybody else.
Yes.
You can actually like donate or volunteer or, spread the word. That is better served energy than to feel bad about what you have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
So interesting. It makes me think of like just going into, like, especially if you're feeling a little disconnected from what lights you up, going into something that you did when you were a kid, and finding playfulness again.
Totally. Yes.
If you're in a low, do something that you did when you were little, or watch is a nice way into that sort of practice.
Absolutely. That's one of like the key things I do with coaching clients. Because a lot of people are so full of like should and all this stuff that they don't even really remember what lights them up. Like they can't come up with it, right? So if we go back to when we were a kid, often it just sort of it's liberating a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, I could just color or whatever. I used to love rearranging my room when I was a kid. I could and it just starts to bring us home again to that little person who probably was pretty joyful, right?
Right. Yes. So then how do you work with like your mental health and like keeping your mental health strong in all of this? What's your practice for that?
Well, I meditate. I do meditate, not every day, but most days I do. I journal, like I write, and I find that my mental health is definitely better if I make the time in the morning. I don't want to like beat the morning, routine over the head, because I think everyone's different. But I do notice if I do like even just a little bit of movement in the morning, a little bit of writing, a little bit of meditation. Maybe I don't do all three, but if I can, I do. Just that sort of really, I don't go right onto social media at all. Like I try and stay away from that. I don't even go right into all my texts and messages. Just stay away from that for a while to tap in. Those things mostly I find, support, like healthy support from people who have healthy practices is really important as well, that you can turn to and talk with, and they're not going to like give you a ton of advice or whatever that is, but you can just release and share. And movement for sure. Like I was
going to ask how important a movement practice is for you.
I do not feel like myself if I'm not moving. It's, when I was a kid, I was into ballet. Like it's been a big part of my life for a long time. So, but I, just like everyone, I can either get lazy or sort of forget it. And I had an experience this past like summer, I guess I got an injury that was not going away. And I did everything I tell my clients not to do. Like I didn't go out and get help, and I just had to keep shrinking what I did physically, and it was really hard. Like well, it was hard, but it also became easy. It's like, well, I can't do it, so I was just doing less and less and less. And then when I was like, oh my, I feel disconnected from my body, I just had to start small, and I'm still kind of finding my way as it rehabs. But just the difference, honestly, of doing a little bit of stretching in the morning at night. And I mean a little bit, because I had to be really careful. It was like, oh, thank God. Like my body, my poor body. Moving is so crucial. And one of the things I found is like when I really could not move like much at all. I mean, that sounds a bit extreme, but I mean, the kind of movement that I'm used to, right? Like I couldn't do yoga. I couldn't do Pilates. I could walk. But breath work was very helpful then, which I resisted for a long time. But even just doing any kind of breath work, like more forceful, even that can change the kind of physiological feeling in my body. And it is, I my kind of mental health, my positive outlook is really hand in hand with movement. Yeah.
Yeah, because it really does. I realized at one point down the long road that this is that I felt the most connected in like a meditation or just in whatever I was doing when I was connected to my body. When I connected to physically, like I could feel the inside of my body, all of a sudden, and I was like, wow, I feel so much better. I feel it's like my mood is better. I feel like life is inspiring again.
Yes, absolutely. Totally.
The body.
Yeah. Yes. It changes everything actually, right? And it doesn't have to be like some crazy, you don't have to run a marathon, right?
No.
The smallest things. I 100% agree. And if I'm not, then it's like you got lost in this neighborhood up here that's just like, you know, it's just like neurotic darkness. And it's like, oh, I moved my body and that's shifted and gone.
Well, because, I mean, I always think of it as like the body is always existing in present time. The mind can go everywhere, but the body's always in the present. So if you're connecting into your body, you can't help but go into the present, you know?
Totally. Yes. And in the present, everything's okay. Like actually, even if it's not okay, I'm okay. Like it's okay. Right. Yeah.
Back to that. Accepting.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about, before we go, you like your offering, because you have such awesome offers. Can we hear about your coaching a bit?
For sure. Yeah. So the sort of main offer is, it's like you have the choice of a stream of a 3-month or a 6-month coaching package, and in that I work with you either on a specific goal or just because you're like, and I need to get back to myself a little bit. And we meet 3 times a month or 4 times 1 month. We meet 4, and we basically do some inner voice work, which I didn't chat with you a lot about, but it's it's basically about connecting everything we've been talking about, really dropping in, figuring out your joy practice, really dropping into like the wise, true self that you are. Right. And allowing yourself to remember that and allowing yourself to be led by that. So releasing ourselves from all those shoulds, I should be doing this, all that feeling of like obligation and whatever that is for you, which a lot of my clients have a lot of that, perfectionism, all that kind of stuff. It's like, what happens when we actually make ourselves responsible for letting that go and dropping into like who we really are and what we actually really want. So that's the main thing. I do also do inner voice sessions that are just one-off sessions. And if anyone's curious, they could reach out. They're pretty amazing, I have to say. It's, it's like getting into a deep meditative state. And then we both do, but I ask your inner voice questions and you answer from your inner voice. And it's blissful and very insightful, because we get beyond all of that chatter, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So powerful.
Yes.
I mean, life-changing.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Life-changing. Yeah.
So cool. I could talk to you for hours.
I know. Me too. I'd love to keep chatting. We should do this again.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. I love it. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming and
thank you for
chatting
having
with us, Suzanne.
Yes. And I just want to say congratulations on having it's incredible. I mean, really. That I'm sure you are, but I hope you're celebrating yourself, because that is a huge achievement. And I know like how hard it is to make ourselves do things like no one else is making you do it. It's so much harder when it's just you, right? But it's going to be amazing. Yeah, you're such an amazing human.
Oh, thanks. Well, you've helped me along the way. I tell you that much. So thank you. Thank you much. And thank you for everybody for tuning in with us.
Yes, thanks,
nice to
guys.
see you, kind of.
Yeah, totally. Your name.
Listening to the playback. Thank you so much for coming in with us today. Okay, well, see you soon, Suzanne.
I'll see you soon. Yes.
Thanks, you guys.
Okay, bye.
Thanks,
much
everyone.
love.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.